And moving your bodies. Unfortunately, if you've ever gone into fitness facilities, you generally see people only working one or two planes of motion, which is basically doing this, which is great, but our bodies move in other directions. And so if you're not strong in those directions, you're going to end up either coming to see me or coming to see Ricky or going to see the doctor, because you're going to end up hurting yourself. So what you want to try and do is find a trainer who is versed in training in different planes of motion, which I'm going to talk about today. So as you can see, I have 3 written down, the 3 different planes, the motions that they are, and then an example of that particular plane of motion, so that you know kind of what to do or have an idea of what it is. So the first one is the traditional one, which is the sagittal plane, which is basically taking your body and moving in this direction. Which rows, obviously, if a traditional row is that, or a push-up, whatever it may be. So flexion extension is basically extending the shoulder back and forth. And of course, an example of that is a bicep curl. So you extend and contract. Okay? A frontal plane is working in this plane of motion, so it would be a lat pull down. So now you're taking your arms and you're doing abduction, adduction, working your back, working your shoulders. Again, a lot of people tend to do that one. But the one that people don't tend to do is the last one, which is the transverse plane. That's rotation. So we do a lot of rotation in our daily activities. We bend over, pick our kids up, pick the groceries out of the back of the car. There goes the back. So you need to train in those types of planes of motion to make the body stronger. And obviously, mobility is important as well in the joints. So for side shuffling, for the frontal plane is eversion and inversion. So it's basically, if this is your foot, you're basically moving back and forth like this. So again, we have a lot of issues with older populations tripping over their feet. And the reason for that is because they don't have any plane, or they don't have any range of motion in their ankle joints. So what do? They shuffle and they fall over a carpet, or they trip over their feet. So what you need to do is get some flexibility and mobility in your joints. And I can guarantee you, if everyone stands up and does a flexibility test on their calves or on their ankles, you guys are going to have just as many issues in your feet as our older population. So it's not necessarily looking at our older population, but saying and educating the younger population, saying, look, this is what's going to happen, or this is happening now, and you don't necessarily realize it until you get into a situation where you test yourself and you're going, ooh, I do feel actually some issues going on there. So you need to train yourself in those areas for active flexibility, which I've talked about in past experiences or past talks as far as stretching. So an easy example of that would be side shuffling. So it's basically just laterally going across the floor like this. So you're doing abduction, adduction without even realizing it. And that's just an active way to stretch out to the ankles. Transverse again, internal external rotation. So an easy example of that would be a single arm row with rotation. So take the traditional row and you're just adding in a twist to it. So what that's adding in is a next level of working your abdominal muscles. So instead of getting on the floor and doing these, which everyone hates, why not do it standing up? Row, twist. So now you're getting strength in a transverse plane, so then when you bend over and pick your kids up, you won't end up hurting your back, because your abdominal muscles are going to be strong enough, your hips are going to be strong enough, there's going to be enough flexibility in your hips so that they don't end up tweaking the muscles in your body and then having to go see someone to get it fixed. So it's basically just education and trying to get those people to be able to help themselves. And that's really what my whole practice is about. I don't necessarily want to train you guys for the rest of your lives, because you guys don't want to afford it or don't want to pay me for it. which is fine, but I'd rather have you come, have you teach what you need done, and then go off on your own and then come back for whatever you need. That's the way I've basically set up my practice. So, basically what I've done is given you at least 3 ideas of planes of motion and a little bit of education on mobility that you can do. But unfortunately, as again we become adults, we lose the ability to produce synovial fluid, which is the fluid in your joints. And so what you need to do is supplement for that. And one way of doing that is doing the Monavie nutritional juice, which I've been doing for a year. And I've been doing it actually for my knee because I tore my knee, or my ACL, back in college. And so I know I'm going to have arthritis in that knee, because that's just the way it is. You go in, have surgery, you're going to get arthritis in there because they cut in, and you're going to get arthritis. This is a way for me to prolong the issue of having pain in my knees. So there are a lot of different products that are out there. I like this particular product because it did something for me, and it also is in liquid form. So it absorbs into your body really quickly, and it's easy to do. It's like brushing your teeth. So you need flexibility and mobility in your body and basically your joints. And so by moving in those planes of motion, you're going to lubricate your body, stretch your body, strengthen your body, and you're going to have a stronger body. And that's important. We all want to be strong in doing our daily lives, and 95% of us sit quite a bit. The other percentage are up and moving, and we're actually going back now more toward the repetitive movement aspect because we're finding that that is more of a way of coming back to what we originally did, which was basically in more industrial type things. So it's important to have good strength and flexibility in your bodies.
Hey, EJ, have you read any studies about the relationship of immunity to physical fitness?
Well, it kind of depends on the individual, because obviously your immune system can be better because you're exercising, but if you're doing too much exercise, then it can be a detriment. So there's sort of give and take. It kind of depends on what the individual started with and what they're doing now to supplement, because unfortunately, as most of us know, or maybe not all of us know, that the foods that we're eating don't have the supplements that we need. And so we need to supplement. That we're just taking everything out of our foods. Mm-hmm. And my father, told me 20 years ago, oh, there's plenty of nutrients in the food, which is true 20 or 30 years ago. Now it's not that way. So all the doctors are saying, you got to do, and all the nutritionists and everyone else, they're saying you have to take other things to help your body. And that's why all these other companies are coming out now with, nutrients and supplements and everything else. And some of them are good, some of them are not so good. And so that's what kind of we're fighting against, are the companies that didn't do so well with the companies that are actually showing that they can do something for people's bodies and also financially. So everyone's looking to make more money. Well, some of these companies you can make some money. It may be $5 or $50 or $100 a month, but that can be a good thing for that particular month.
But I mean, when you see a client, do you have an eye on their basic vitality, their basic immunity?
You can tell by pulling on the skin or just by looking at them in most cases. Because as we get older, the elasticity in our skin becomes less and less.
Yeah.
How do you tell?
Well, one you can just kind of pull,
right?
Or you can actually just visually see. I mean, obviously, with sagging and that type of thing.
Right.
So I'm talking a little bit more older population,
okay.
But people that say that I injure myself all the time, or I scratch myself, or I cut myself.
Yeah.
That's an issue with very, very thin skin.
Yeah.
And so that's an issue with your immune system. So then you may want to say, hey, you may want to supplement in doing this and this, or go to your doctor and say, hey, let me do some blood work to find out kind of what's going on. because those are issues. And if you're sick all the time, that's another issue.